The guilt is eating away at Narcissist's mind. There's a storm that brews in silence, one that nobody wants to admit, one that nobody wants to face. Narcissists may put on the armor of confidence, the mask of power, and the smile of control. But deep down, guilt is their unspoken opponent. It stalks them. It plays in their head like a never-ending game tape of missed shots and blown opportunities. And here's the truth. They know it. They feel it. They live with it. Guilt is a relentless defender. It doesn't tire. It doesn't foul out. It waits. And it attacks when the lights go out, when the noise fades, and when the crowd disappears. That's when the real game begins. And today, we're going to break that down. Not for them, but for you. Because you've got to understand, their guilt is your closure, their silence is your victory, and their downfall is your rise. Guilt is the shadow that never leaves. Guilt is like a defender that never takes a timeout. It doesn't matter how fast they run, how high they climb, or how much they fake the scoreboard. Guilt is always there, chasing every step. They can change cities. They can change faces, they can change stories, but they can't change what they did. And what they did follows them like a shadow that stretches longer as the sun sets. When the crowd claps for them, they smile. But that smile is a mask, because deep down they know the truth, and truth doesn't retire. It stays in the locker room, waiting for its moment. Every time they try to celebrate, there's a whisper. Every time they try to boast, there's a memory. Every time they try to look forward, something pulls them back. That's guilt, and it doesn't miss a game. They pretend they've won. They pretend they've moved on, but the mind is an unforgiving coach. It replays every wrong, every cheap move, every selfish play they made at someone else's cost. You think they're sleeping peacefully. No, that's when the shadow is loudest. That's when the scoreboard comes alive. That's when every missed opportunity to be real comes back to haunt them. Guilt is the only opponent they can't outrun, because it doesn't need legs. It lives in their head. It doesn't matter how far they go. It's already there when they arrive. And the thing about guilt is, it doesn't just show up once. It's not one quarter. It's not one bad game. It's a season that never ends, a tournament they can't drop out of. Every fake victory they celebrate makes the shadow stronger, because now they're not only running from the truth, they're running from themselves and you. You don't have to chase them, because their guilt is already doing the work for you. It's the shadow in every mirror they avoid. They thought they escaped. They thought they got away, but guilt doesn't need evidence. It feeds on memory. And memory never forgets. Even when they laugh the loudest, they carry the heaviest silence inside, and that silence, that's where the shadow grows. It wraps around their thoughts. It pulls at their soul. It tells them you can fake the world, but not yourself. That's the shadow you never see. That's the opponent they never admit. That's guilt. Control is their illusion. Guilt is their reality. Narcissists love control, because it's the only way they can hide from the chaos they've created inside. They dictate. They manipulate. They dominate the game. But that's all surface level. Deep down, their guilt has already stripped the control from their hands. They want to write the narrative, but guilt keeps editing the chapters. They want to hold the ball, but guilt keeps stealing it in the fourth quarter. Control feels powerful until the lights go out. Then the only voice left is guilt's, and guilt doesn't negotiate. Every command they give is a distraction. Every dominance they show is compensation. Because the real power isn't in how much you control others, it's in how well you've controlled yourself. Guilt is undefeated in that category. It owns them. It makes them double guess every move. It makes them restless in their quiet moments. They want the world to see strength, but guilt makes them live weakness in private. They want to win in front of the crowd, But they keep losing when they're alone, and the harder they try to control the world, the more their guilt controls them. It's a paradox they can't break. It's a trap they built with their own hands. The illusion of control is like a fake trophy. It shines on the outside, but it's hollow on the inside. You don't have to fight for revenge. Their guilt is already the referee blowing the whistle. They crave power because power distracts them. It keeps them from facing the reality that they've lost the one game that mattered, the game with themselves, and every night that illusion breaks again. Because when the crowd is gone, the camera is off, and the room is quiet, control means nothing. Guilt means everything. That's the reality they live in. That's the scoreboard they can't rig. Silence screams louder than words. You think their silence means peace. No. Their silence is a storm without sound. Silence is where guilt does its best work. It's the locker room after the loss. It's the empty court after the crowd leaves. It's the echo that won't stop. Narcissists talk loud when the room is full, but they fall silent when the guilt rises. Because words can't erase memory, words can't drown the conscience. They avoid quiet moments because quiet moments ask the hardest questions. Why did you do that? What have you become? They stay busy because silence exposes them. It reminds them of every broken trust, every selfish play. Every time they traded loyalty for ego, and guilt thrives there. It builds a home in their silence. It becomes a roommate they can't evict. The louder they look in life, the quieter they are inside. And that quiet isn't peace, it's punishment. Silence at 2 a.m. is not the same as silence at 2 p.m. One is rest, the other is reckoning. Every unsent message, every avoided call, every ignored reflection. Those are signs of a war inside. They want to laugh louder, party harder, post brighter. But when it's quiet, guilt eats them alive. That silence is where truth walks in, uninvited, and takes a seat. And no matter how much they suppress it, the quiet always comes back. Because life has a way of making sure you face your echoes. Silence doesn't just scream its scores. It reminds them what the scoreboard really says. You may think they've moved on, but listen to their silence. That's the confession they'll never speak. Guilt turns confidence into cracks. Confidence is only strong when it's built on truth. Anything else is a house built on sand. Narcissists wear confidence like a jersey, but guilt keeps poking holes in it. Every smile has a tremor. Every celebration hides a twitch. Every victory feels like it's missing something. Because guilt is standing at the sideline, shaking its head. They post their highlights, but guilt keeps the blooper reel ready. That fake confidence, guilt cracks it from the inside out. It's not one big collapse, it's a slow leak, a slow erosion, a slow breaking of the mask. And the more they pretend, the weaker it gets. Because pretending is heavy, lying to yourself is exhausting. Guilt is patient. It doesn't need to knock the house down. It just lets the foundation rot soon. The smiles don't last as long. The victories don't taste as sweet. The mirror doesn't feel like a friend anymore. And that's when the cracks start to show in public. They lash out. They overcompensate. They make moves that don't make sense. Because guilt has already shaken their balance. Confidence turns to paranoia. Charm turns to coldness. Guilt makes sure the transformation isn't instant. It's humiliatingly slow. You see them win today, but you don't see how heavy that trophy feels in their hands tonight. That's the power of guilt. It turns kings into clowns and clowns into ghosts. And the cracks, they only get wider the longer they deny the truth. Their regret is the game they can't replay. Every narcissist has a game they wish they could replay. A moment they wish they could redo. A person they wish they treated right. but life doesn't hand out do-overs. The game clock doesn't reverse, and guilt knows that they replay it in their mind over and over. Not because they want to fix it, but because they can't believe they ruined it. Regret is the film they watch at night, alone. And the plays always look worse in slow motion. That's the game they can't stop watching, because they know they were the villain in it, and every success they try to chase after feels incomplete because of that one unfinished business. Regret isn't a bad memory, it's a weight. It slows them down, it makes the next game harder, and guilt uses that weight like defense. It keeps them from running freely. It keeps them from trusting again. They try to rewrite history, but history doesn't sign new contracts. It stays what it was. Regret eats at their future because it rots their past and the people they hurt. They move on, but narcissists, they stay stuck in the rerun. That's their curse. The game plays forever, but the chance to fix it is gone, and every time they remember, guilt smiles. Because that's the game they'll never win. Guilt makes them prisoners of their own mind. Narcissists may walk free in public, but in their head, they're serving a sentence. Every memory becomes a cell. Every broken promise becomes a chain. Every fake victory becomes a bar on the window. They live in a prison with no guards, no keys, no parole. Because guilt is the warden, and the worst part, the sentence is self-imposed. They built the walls with their own lies, their own choices, their own betrayals. They go out, they travel, they party. But when the lights go off, the cell closes again. Freedom isn't physical, it's mental. And guilt stole that freedom from them a long time ago. They want to escape, but escape requires honesty. And that's the one game they've never learned how to play, so they stay locked up, smiling outside, screaming inside, and that scream, it doesn't go away, it echoes, it builds, it grows louder with time. You may think they've forgotten you. They haven't. You may think they've healed. They haven't. Guilt makes sure of that. It keeps the door shut until they face themselves, and most of them never will. So remember this, they are not free. They are not flying. They are pacing in a cage with their own name on it. Your growth is their silent punishment. The moment you rise, their guilt doubles. Because growth is the loudest revenge. You heal, they hurt. You move forward, they rewind. You shine, they shrink. Narcissists can't stand the sight of someone they underestimated turning into someone they can't reach anymore. Your success is the echo of every wrong they did. It reminds them, you didn't break me, you built me. And guilt, it turns that reminder into a nightmare for them. Every step you take is a step they feel in their conscience. Every victory you claim is a loss in their private scoreboard. You don't need to send them messages. Your existence is the message. The higher you go, the smaller they feel. Because guilt grows in the shadow of your light. They thought they ended you, but you became the chapter they wish they never wrote. And that's the sweetest form of punishment. Not loud, not aggressive, but undeniable. Your growth is the replay they hate to watch. Because it tells them the truth. They didn't stop you. They only stopped themselves. Time doesn't heal their wounds. It deepens them. People say time heals everything. That's a lie for narcissists. For them, time isn't a healer. It's a mirror that gets clearer every year. The longer they live, the more mistakes they remember. The more faces they forget to respect. The more bridges they burned that never got rebuilt. Time adds weight to guilt, not wings. Because every year without making it right is another year wasted. They think they'll forget. But memory ages like iron. It rusts, but it never disappears, and the older they get, the louder the past becomes. Because the future starts to run out, and the scoreboard starts to matter. Time doesn't erase scars for them. It carves deeper ones. They look successful, but inside they are carrying decades of delayed conscience. Guilt turns birthdays into reminders, anniversaries into regrets, milestones into mirrors, and they can't stop it. Because time is the one opponent they can't cheat, bribe, or manipulate, the longer they run, the louder the guilt gets. And one day they stop running, not because they found peace, but because the past finally caught up. That's how time works. It doesn't heal narcissists. It haunts them, so now you see it. Guilt is not a ghost. It's a scoreboard they can't erase. It's not a rumor, it's a truth echoing louder than their applause. They wear the mask, they play the part, they walk the stage, but the real game isn't in the lights, it's in the dark. And in that darkness, they are losing every single day. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to break them. Their own mind is doing the work for you. That's the beauty of truth. It doesn't beg, it doesn't shout, it just waits. And when time passes, truth wins, and guilt collects its debt. Your power is not in revenge. Your power is in rising. Let them sit with their silence, their regrets, their endless reruns of what they could have done better. That's their prison, not yours, and here's the final play. Forgive them if you can, not for their freedom, but for yours. Because while guilt eats them, your peace feeds you. While they hide from the past, you build your future. The narcissist may have thought the game was theirs, but the real trophy is the life you build after the pain. The real championship is peace of mind. The real victory is walking away with your head high while their guilt whispers every night. You lost the only game that mattered. So move forward, don't look back. Because their guilt is the shadow they carry, and your growth is the light that makes it impossible for them to escape it. Game over.